Trends, a show about what's new, what's hot in media, technology, fashion, and business.
Welcome to Trends. My name is Rebecca Clark, and I am your host today. We have Michelle DeGraff here, who is a professor at MIT. He teaches linguistics. Thank you for joining us today, Michelle. I'm really glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here too, and thank you for your time and for your interest in my work.
What got you into teaching?
Well, teaching, I would say, wasn't a planned career. When I came to the US, the goal was to become a computer scientist. And then I went to school in New York, and I studied computer science. And then I got to work at AT&T Bell Labs. I got to work as a computer scientist for linguists and for other researchers working on artificial intelligence. And one of my first projects was to develop software programs that would teach computers how to process language. And that's how I discovered that language ultimately is a system to compute meanings from sounds, and to go from meanings and to compute how to pronounce those meanings. So at the core, language is a system for computation, to compute from sounds to meanings and vice versa. So that's how I discovered linguistics. And through linguistics, I discovered that what I thought was a half language, because when I was a child in Haiti, I would often say that I speak 1.5 language. The one language was French, and the half language was Creole. Mm-hmm. And it's only through learning about computers and about linguistics that I discovered that actually I was lied through the first 18 years of my life, because Creole, Haitian Creole, my native language, is actually a full-fledged language on a par with, say, French or English or Spanish. So I got more interested in linguistics, and I did a PhD in computational linguistics, and eventually I became a full-time linguist, and I got into teaching linguistics. So It's a very short summary of a very long path, but it's really a path about going from a stage where I was assuming that my native language was not a language to realizing that my native language, Creole, is a complete language and that it's been misused in Haitian society, that I can help change that. And so that's basically the short story for a long path into linguistics and into teaching linguistics.
So you're using your past experiences to guide you to your passion.
Exactly. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
That's great. So have you hit any hardships on your journey to helping people in Haiti, or?
I think maybe the most difficult hardship is trying to, when I speak to, say, my compatriots, and when I realize that there is such a deep ambivalence towards who we are as a people, as a nation. Because if you think of the history of Haiti, it's a glorious history. You know, it's so in the past few years we've learned about this the Black Lives Matter movement, about defending the right for black people to live as equal in the US. And I realized that in fact the first Black Lives Matter movement started nowhere else but in Haiti.
Wow. Haiti
was the first country, the first nation of black people who said that we are equal, we are human on a par with Europeans. And what we did was to actually destroy slavery in Haiti. We were the first nations in the New World to stop slavery and to say that we blacks have the same rights as whites or as anyone on the planet. You see, so we have this very glorious history, yet 2 centuries after independence, there are ways in which we are still enslaved. We are enslaved to this hierarchy that puts European cultures, European languages on top of our own cultures, our own languages. Because in Haiti, for many Haitians, including intellectuals, including people with PhDs, they believe that for them to be fully human, for them to be civilized, they have to speak French, that they cannot express the deepest thoughts, the complex notions about science, about philosophy. They cannot do so in Creole. Right. You see, and to me, that's slavery. You see, so to me, that's been the hardest hardship, is to continuously meet with that belief that goes against what I'm trying to do with this project that you mentioned earlier. Because at the MIT Initiative, what we're trying to do, we're trying to open up education for all. And in Haiti, to do that, to open up education for all, you have to do it through the language that everyone speaks, which is Haitian Creole. You see, but then you get to meet with leaders, you get to meet with intellectuals who will tell you that Creole is going to isolate Haiti into a ghetto. It's that with Creole, you cannot do science, you cannot do math, which I know as a linguist is not true. And to see that belief being voiced over and over again by people who should know better, that part can be disheartening. But at the same time, we have huge numbers of young people, of intellectuals, of teachers who believe that indeed Creole is the path to quality education for all, and that's very heartening.
So you have to teach the teachers and the students
exactly.
how to learn again.
Exactly. And you know, the part that I find really encouraging is that there are many teachers in Haiti who, being in the classroom, they understand what kind of blockage the students feel when they have to be taught in French that they do not speak well. So on that part, there is lots of hope, lots of enthusiasm. So what we still need to build is support from the state and from civil society and from the many NGOs that operate in the field of education. They have to be on board as well for us to succeed.
So I understand in order to teach, you're not only teaching the language, but you're also bringing new technology.
Definitely, because in a way, so the large public, and especially our opponents, the people the naysayers in Haiti, they often cast the project as if it's a language project. But I like to say, which is true, that it's not a language project. It's a project for education. The main goal is to improve education for all in Haiti. That's the main goal. So at the core of the project, what we're trying to do is to promote a new way of learning, away from the system of rote memorization that most schools in Haiti still practice. Because if you've been to Haiti, you will probably encounter children under the street lamps studying by heart, and what you hear and do, it's like a song. You see, they repeat sometimes short sentences, and they memorize them and they recite them. That's not learning.
Right.
That's just being a parrot. So the goal of the project is to move the entire system away from that practice of rote learning. Because what we know is that Haitian kids are so creative. Look at the arts. If you go into any Haitian home, even in Boston, you'll see the vibrancy of Haitian art. If you go to Haiti, you'll see the music, you'll see the public transport pickups, pickup trucks. They are vibrantly decorated, and you feel the imagination of the Haitian people, the creativity. So the question is, why isn't that creativity also expressed in the classroom, also expressed in science and math? Well, it's because the system is blocked into this practice of rote learning. So the number one goal of the project is to take the system away from that practice of rote memorization, so that the children can study and build their own knowledge via participation, via creative practices, you see? So that's the goal, that's the number one goal, active learning.
Yes.
Okay? And then, if you want active learning in Haiti, you have to do it in the language that the students speak most naturally. Because to be active in your learning, you cannot be trying to use a language that you don't speak fluently, right? Because the language then becomes a hindrance. You want the language to be a transparent tool. You want the language to flow. And the language, the one language that flows in Haiti in everyone's mouth is not French, it's Creole. Yeah. So Creole now becomes a tool. Creole is not the end of it. Creole is the means to a larger goal. The larger goal is quality education for development. Okay, so then Creole now has to be introduced in the classroom. It has to be instrumentalized to be able to express complex concepts. You need to have materials in Creole. You need to have software in Creole. And now the third part comes in, which is the technology. Because at MIT, we have brilliant educators, brilliant scientists and mathematicians who've developed extremely sophisticated tools to teach math and biology and chemistry and biochemistry and physics. So what we want now, we want all those tools to be shared with Haiti in Creole. Because now, with these tools in Creole, it will trigger the students and the teachers' imagination and creativity in the teaching of science and math. You see, so I like to think that it's It's a tool with 3 pillars. As we say in Haiti, 3 rocks of fire. Because in Haiti, when you cook, like from for lots of people, you need a big pan, and then you would support it with those 3 rocks, on the ground. So the 3 rocks are active learning, the pedagogy, the language, which is essential for active learning, and technology of various sorts, both digital technology, but also tools of various sorts that the students can actually touch and manipulate. So those 3 tools together form the basis of the project.
Where do you see your technology going in the future? Do you have more projects underway, or?
Yes, so the demand is really endless, because imagine that in Haiti today, everyone speaks Creole, but the language that's been used for teaching for the past 2 centuries has been mostly French, which means that there's a major gap when it comes to materials. So especially as you go up the levels in science and math, there are fewer and fewer textbooks, resources in Creole. You see, so the goal is to fill in the gaps. So there are already some presses, various publishing houses that are producing good materials in Creole. But because there's such a huge demand, we need more of that. So we're hoping that MIT can help producing more materials, more software, more tools in Creole for science and math in Haiti. So those are the next steps to build the collections, even to have a much stronger collections of materials in Creole.
So I'm a strong believer in working smarter and not harder, and that seems like that's
Yes.
exactly what you're teaching them. So.
Absolutely. And I like what you just said, actually, the notion of working smarter and not harder, because if Haiti has been called the Republic of NGOs. Now that's one nickname among the many nicknames that Haiti gets. Why? Because there are countless NGOs in Haiti, and they seem to work very hard. You see, but keeping what you said in mind, they're not working smart.
Right.
They're not working smart because
they have to learn extra.
Because most of them don't look at the fact that the efforts will not pay off if they use French or they use English. For the efforts to really pay off for the entire nation, they have to put Creole at the core of the projects. But it's easy to check. If you go on the websites of these projects, most of them, I would say easily 95% of them, use French or English, to serve a nation that speaks Creole, essentially. So you see that in terms of working hard versus working smart. So they are working hard, but sometimes you ask yourself, what are they working for? Are they working for themselves, or are they working for the Haitian people? Because if they were working for the Haitian people, they would be using the Haitian people's language, which is Creole, not French. But by working smart, you see a small investment in the language would produce such high dividends. And we've seen it. We've seen how by switching the language from French to Creole, how the kids learn so much better. And actually you can measure that. So there is this school in Matenois, in Nagonave, in the small island in Haiti, where the kids there, as they learn in Creole, they obtain results that are 3 times better than those other schools where French is being used. And with Creole, those kids are still able to learn French. You see, so Creole doesn't exclude French. What Creole does is to give them better foundations, and the learning gains are typically at least 3 times higher than those schools where the kids are studying in French. You see, so I like that phrase, working smart versus working harder.
It makes a lot of sense to me. And it seems like it's great what you're doing, too.
Thank you.
You're really working hard, and you can see the passion.
Thank you. It's tough because the challenge is ideological. And as we know, ideology can be very, very hard to change. It's not logical. It's based on privilege. It's based on traditions. It's based on social class allegiances. So that's difficult. But I think we are making progress.
So what inspired you to become this awesome person focused on Haiti, and when do you take time for yourself?
It's interesting that you're trying to focus now on myself, because I don't really see a separation between who I am and what I do. I think it's one and the same. I think much of what I do is driven by who I am, by my childhood, what I saw among my childhood friends when they were in school. So let me tell you a story. So 2 years ago, I met an old school friend. We were friends together in school when we were in our single digits, like from age 6 to age 15, 16. And as a child, I was always struck that my friend was so smart, on the street playing soccer. At school, he was always very quiet, and he couldn't really speak. They would ask him a question, and the teacher had to insist, raise your voice, we cannot hear you. You see, and I was always struck by this kid who, on the courtyard, on the playground, was so vocal, so smart, and so articulate in Creole. In the classroom, he couldn't speak. And when we met recently, with our families, and now he's a professional working very successfully, and he shared with me, I like the work you're doing because, if you had done that work, if that work had been done when I was a child, I would have been able to speak in the classroom. And I said, why are you saying that? He said, well, because you see, at home, I was only using Creole. My family spoke Creole. And at school, we had to speak French. And I knew that if I were to make any mistake in French, they would laugh at me. And I was so afraid to make mistakes that I had to remain silent. And even when I had to speak, I was so afraid that I couldn't speak with my normal voice. He opened up to me to tell me that how grateful he was about this work, because he feels that there are so many Haitian children who have suffered the same way. And he's hoping that there will be a day in Haiti when kids will not be so violated in the basic fundamental right to be able to have a voice, because he couldn't have a voice because of that problem. You see, and I've seen it so many times in Haiti, and I also saw schools in Haiti, very few schools, where the kids were able to speak Creole, were allowed to speak Creole, how creative and happy they are. You see, so I've seen this contrast so directly. Schools where kids are shamed, because of the Creole accent, and schools where kids are free to speak Creole. So in a way, that's driven my work. It's been at the core of what I'm doing. I'm hoping that there'll be one day when every child in Haiti will be able to to go to school and not have to suffer such humiliation, because it impacts not only them, but the families, the community, and the country. You see, because they cannot be productive citizens. They are forced to remain impoverished. So that's what's driving my work.
So what motivated you now to start?
Well, I think, so after I did my PhD, which for my PhD research, I worked on Haitian Creole.
Okay.
I got to understand its structure, its history, and even after my PhD, I kept working on the language. And then I've been in contact, for a long time now with a dear colleague in Haiti. He's a linguist. His name is Yves Dejean. And Yves Dejean's life work is also trying to use the language for equality of opportunity. And Yves Dejean has a school in Haiti called, it's a very poetic name, it's called Center 3 Little Flowers. And he called it 3 Little Flowers for 3 children who died because of poverty, really. Wow. And it's obvious that the school will allow children to flourish, not die, and they can flourish through education in the language. So I had a chance to visit that school, and I had a chance to have Yves Dejean as a mentor. And he always asked me, Michel, make sure that the work you do does have an implication, does have benefits for your people.
Right.
You see, and he told me that as soon as I finished my thesis, he read my dissertation, and he told me it's beautiful work, but I hope that this work can help your people. You see, and since we kept in touch, I've always had that in mind, to see how linguistics can be used for education and development. And then, of course, after the earthquake, as it turns out, when the earthquake happened, I was on the phone with Yves Dejean, and we were talking about education and development. Can you imagine? And as we were on the phone, the line cut off, and I had no clue what happened. So I heard this noise, and the line cut off, and then 5 minutes after, I got phone calls about the earthquake, right? And then, of course, I was worried for him, and I found out afterwards that he was fine, but the country was destroyed. Schools were destroyed, universities were destroyed. So at MIT, me and some colleagues were wondering, what can we do to help? And to me, the next step was, in order for us to help in the best possible way, is to give Haiti what MIT does the best. What MIT does the best is education, is STEM education. And how can we share MIT's assets with Haiti? And I realized that the best way to do it is through these 3 these three dimensions, active learning, the pedagogy, because at MIT, what works well is the fact that the students learn through practice. They learn through engaging with the material. But for that to happen well in Haiti, now it goes back to Yves Desjans' dream. You have to use the national language, what most kids speak at home, which is Creole. And then, of course, technology is for MIT, that's a natural asset, almost, natural in quotes, but it's something that we do well at MIT. So I thought, well, let's put these three things together and create this initiative. So that's where it comes from. Yeah.
Not only are you benefiting the people in Haiti, but you're also benefiting everyone watching.
Absolutely.
Teaching us everything that we had no idea about. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one thing which has come out very clearly, which I'm very happy about, is that this is not charity. You see, when MIT works with Haiti, MIT is not doing charity to Haiti, because in these past 7 years, we at MIT, we've learned so much as well about education. You see, so it's a win-win as faculty and students in Haiti are learning through this project. We at MIT as well, we're learning from Haiti. And in fact, our own tools, our own methods have improved thanks to this process. And similarly in Haiti as well, they are also improving the teaching process through this collaboration. I myself, I've become a better teacher through this collaboration. The way I teach now at MIT has been so positively influenced by this work in Haiti, you see. So it's really...
So everything's connected.
No, it's really a win-win combination. So in Creole, we would say décabès. Décabès is when you play domino, you see, and at the end, you can end the game on either end of the dominoes board. We call it's a double win. So it's really a double win for MIT and for Haiti.
So I know you don't like talking about yourself, but you're definitely a leader in this situation. So what made you become a leader?
It's kind of strange to hear myself be called a leader, because the work I'm doing is through listening and is through working with other people. Because we have an amazing team. You see, the MIT Haiti team. If I consider the people that I'm working with, so from Vijay Kumar, which is he was the head of this office for digital learning at MIT. It was called the office. It's a mouthful. It's OEIT. OEIT is office. E is for educational. I is for innovation, and T is for technology. Okay. So it's a mouthful. So Vijay was the head of that office. So he was a senior scholar, with a degree in a PhD in education sciences. So for me, Vijay was a role model, because he was doing in various countries, including his native India, in Spain, in Latin America, in Africa. He's been doing work in education, and my background is in linguistics, you see. So for me, Vijay is the leader, you see. And by working with Vijay, I got to understand so much about education and about opening education for all, because Vijay is a leader in this field of open education, where MIT has been distributing, sharing knowledge for free with the entire world. You see, so in my mind I was thinking, well, if MIT is doing that for the world, why not Haiti, that needs it the most? Haiti needs it the most, so why not Haiti? You see, so Vijay is my model. In Haiti, I mentioned earlier, Professor Yves Desjans, who's now almost 90.
Wow. Right?
So I think he's almost 90, or he's already 90. So Yves Desjans is what I consider the best Haitian linguist. And my work has been inspired so much by Yves Desjans' model, his work putting together linguistics and education for development. He has a book called Yon pays tête en bas. No, Yon l'école tête en bas, Yon pays tête en bas. It means an upside-down school in an upside-down country. And the book's objective is to show how to put the country upside up if we manage to change the school system by using the native language as a main ingredient, right? So he's my model in this front, you see. So when you call me a leader, I think of these folks as leaders, and my work has been so much inspired by their work. I mentioned earlier the work in La Gonave, in Matenois. So that work, so there's a school there called L'École Communautaire Matenois, which has been co-founded by two amazing individuals. One is Christine Lowe, who's a Chinese American who lives in Cambridge, who used to work for the Cambridge Public School. and this amazing Haitian educator, leader called Abner Sauveur. So those two also have inspired me. In fact, the MIT Initiative started really in Matenois, you see, in Laguna, because when I went there and I saw kids reading in Creole, not only those kids were reading fluently, but they could understand what they were reading, and they were having fun reading. In fact, they were reading this book called Compère Chat and Compère Chien, which means, compadre dog and compadre cat. And those kids were enjoying that book so much that I had to understand how they got to read so well. Then I got to measure the learning gains in reading, and I realized that it's the language that makes them such good readers, because they're learning to read in the native language. So I did a research comparing those kids with kids elsewhere learning in French, and that's where I saw that the gap was spectacular. That's when I realized, it's criminal to have this data that shows so clearly that the kids are learning so much better in the native language. How can we then keep teaching them in French, which they don't speak? You see? So this, to me, was another model. You see? So in a way, I've become a leader, if you call it that, by listening, by following great examples that chance has put in my path.
Okay. So, as you're a leader now, do you think you can bring your expertise in the MIT Haiti Initiative to other countries?
That's the hope, you see, because if you look at global data, the case of Haiti, although it's the case that I'm most concerned with because I'm from Haiti, but it's actually a very common situation. According to UNESCO UN data, there's about 40% of the student population that's still being taught in a language that they don't speak, right?
Wow.
So, and if you think of poverty in the world, there is a correlation between the poorest countries and, well, I would like to say the most impoverished countries, and those countries where students are being taught in a foreign language, right? So which means that if we manage to use that model in Haiti and apply it elsewhere, apply it in Latin America, in Africa, in Asia, this will help solve this poverty problem. And in fact, the UN, United Nations, they know about this. So there are publications that have studied this correlation between the language of instruction and impoverishment or underdevelopment. And it's clear that one basic ingredient, indispensable ingredient, to get those countries out of poverty is to change the school system, is to teach in the students' native language, in the kids' native language, you see. But people think it's not possible. People often think that Creole languages or local languages cannot do it. They are too impoverished, they are too structurally poor for them to express science and math. So the hope is that what we're doing now in Haiti with Haitian Creole, doing science at the most advanced level, that can be used as a proof of concept, as a model to show, well, look, linguistically, we have data that show that you can teach science, you can teach math in a language like Haitian Creole. And if we can do it in Haitian Creole, then we can also do it in Quechua, we can do it in Nugubuyu, we can do it in Igbo, we can do it in any other language.
So you mentioned the domino effect before, and it seems like you're doing the opposite. You're really bringing the dominoes back up. So not only with education, but you're also changing poverty. You're going to bring everything back to a positive manner.
That's the end goal. That's the goal. We're not there yet, you see. Right. So I feel that, so language is one part of a larger puzzle. So often people ask me, so do you think that if we teach in Creole, it will all be resolved in Haiti, that poverty will be solved? And I like to remind them, the language is only one condition, it's one tool. And I like to insist that the goal is not Creole, the goal is education. The language is only one ingredient to solve a larger problem. There's a nice quote that says that, of course, in education, language is not everything, but without language, there is nothing possible. Right. And because it's the necessary ingredient. How can you teach? How can you have quality education for all if you don't do it in the language that everyone can speak?
Exactly.
You see, so it's a basic ingredient. And once we have that, then we can also now work on pedagogy, active learning. We can train teachers to teach better with better methods, but the teachers themselves, they have to understand the methods. And for them to understand the methods, they have to do it in their own language, right? Exactly. And then you can have technology. But for the technology to work well, it has to be accessible. For it to be accessible, it has to be in the native language. You see, so language permeates all these conditions, right? So you're right. That's the eventual goal. But we have to. It's like building blocks. You have to start building up. But at the basis, you have to have the national language of Haiti, which is Creole.